Hello everybody, welcome to lesson 4, which this week we're going to be doing oil pastels. So we did chalk pastels last week, which was fabulous. Penguins were amazing. You all done so well, and I loved seeing all your work. Especially finished and going back and finishing it and posting it in the group. It's been amazing. So this week we're going to be doing oil pastels. So we're going to be doing Maasai people. Okay, so you will have some reference photos here of different images that you can use or get inspiration from. Or you may have an image that you've downloaded already that you would like to use. So I'm going to go through a few different kind of techniques and different things. These are a few that I've done already. So I did this on a piece of cardboard. It came out of a box and I just kind of ripped it off. So this is just this was off one of the reference photos as well. I can't find it yet, but I will do. So this was just a little practice to see what it's like. It's quite wet still. Did it like a week ago, and it still comes off. So it stays wet for quite a long time. So you can add to it if you want to. So it's good to practice on different things, different textures. See what they come out like. See what you like and what you don't like. I used the reference photos as well, and I'm going to show you what I did. I actually did a couple in chalk pastels, just to get an idea. So this was the reference photo. Okay, so I did these. Even though it's not oil pastels, but I did these in chalk pastels. Just to give you an idea, just to practice with different tones, with blue tones, warm tones and dark tones. So I did this just on a sheet of brown paper. I love brown paper, because you can see the light and the dark so much better when you use coloured paper. But I like brown paper, so that was them, but they was chalk. So I did the same thing on another box here, which I use a bit skinnier, but I was practicing colours, shading, and different things, just to see what it would look like. So yeah, that was fun. So it's always good to try and to practice on different things, so you can get an idea of what it's gonna do on different mediums, different papers. With oil pastels, you can paint on glass, you can paint on wood, you can use them on canvas, mixed media paper, pastel paper, canvas boards, wooden boards, plastic. You can paint on anything because it's got oil in it. They're really good. They grip on anything. And with the chalk pastels, they got a lot of dust, but with the oil pastels, because they've got oil in them and they've got a different binder in, they behave differently. So this is just a little sheet here just to show you different skin tones, cool tones and warm tones. So cool tones have got blue in it, so sometimes you find that, you know, different parts of your skin, like my veins on my hands, are kind of a bluey colour, and you get a blue tone, and warm tones have got different colours in. So the cool tones, purple, blues, red. Skin tones have always got like red and yellow in anyway, because it's like an orangey tone. So you've got purple, blue, red, browns, cool greens, ivories and pinks. So they're like the cooler tones, and the warmer tones here, aquamarine, blue, and your warm greens. So warm greens here, they've got a yellow bias, so that means that they're more towards the yellow than they are the blue. If I can find I haven't got my colour wheel, typical. So on the colour wheel you'll see that you've got blue, yellow to make green, and it depends on if it's got more blue, it's going to be more bluer. If it's more yellow, it's going to be a light green. So it's a bit like this. So these are dark greens. These are my oil pastel trays, which I showed you last week, is my chalk pastels, but these are my oil pastels, so I've got like 2 lots. So the yellows, obviously blue and yellow makes green, but it depends. If there's more yellow in it, it's going to become a lighter green, and if there's more blue in it, it's going to become a darker green. So that's what that means. It just means yellow bias, that it's more towards the yellow than it is the blue. Ochre, which is kind of your in-betweeny colour. It's this colour. If you're painting, you'll know ochre is a colour that you use for painting all the time. Burnt sienna, burnt umber, raw umber. Ochre is, you use that so much. That's a really good warm tone. Gold, sienna brown. So these are like a sienna. I haven't got any numbers, any things on them except for my Reeves ones. So I've got some Reeves ones here. These are really good. These are really greasy, and they're like, every time I pick them up I get wet hands because they are so oily. But Reeves are such a good make. The best makes that you can get for, I think, for oil pastels is Sennelier. They are a really good make. They're very soft and creamy, and they're really nice to use. So yeah, so that's just that for now. Let me just, I'm trying to do too many things at once at the moment. Right, let's put that down. So I'm just going to go back to surfaces. So you can use wood, canvas, paper, glass, mixed media paper, pastel paper and canvas board. And it has an oil binder in it, so it stays wet and pliable for a long time. So you can pick it up in a week's time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, and you'll still be able to smudge it, you'll still be able to touch it. So it's good to use because you can keep going back to it, which is really handy. Blending techniques. So I'm just going to show you blending. I'm just going to go through it and then we're going to go through it together. So different blending techniques and gives different effects. So you can use a paper towel. So you can wrap a paper towel around on your finger and you can blend it. That's quite a good blending technique. Saves wearing your finger out. If you don't want to get messy, you can put gloves on if you want to, which is quite a good idea. Paper stump. So this was done with a paper stump. So I put 2 colours together and blended it with a paper stump. You can get linseed oil. Creates a glossy effect, and it has a slow drying time as well, but it makes it kind of quite glossy. You can use baby oil, but I think it goes quite muddy, the colours, so you only need to use a little bit. Oh, I've lost my camera, sorry. My camera's fell down. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, it's all fun and games, isn't it? I never do videos, this is why. Right, yeah, so baby oil, it's good, but I feel like it can be a bit greasy, and you can put too much on and overdo it a bit. So if you do it, you will need to put it in a little tiny pot. I'm going to demonstrate when I do the class, because I actually haven't got any with me, so I can't show you. White spirit and minerals, you can use both of them as well, but like a very little tiny bit, and terps, but I would suggest using Gamsol. So Gamsol is an odorless mineral spirit, and it thins the oils, and it's quite easy to use, and it doesn't smell like white spirit does, and mineral spirits. So Gamsol is good, but my favourite, which is I think is really good, is using candle wax. So candle wax is still wax, and it's like an oil as well. It's both really, but it's also a if you was to use it with watercolour, like a wax resist, you can put it draw with wax and then put watercolour over it, which is really good. So I'm going to do some demonstrations to show you. So this was candle wax that I used, and I put the candle wax down first and then did the colours, and I also did it with this one with Sgraffito, a palette knife and dotting. So we're going to go through them in a minute, and I just want to go through the makes with you. So Sennelier is one of the best makes you can buy. They're quite expensive, but they are so velvety and creamy and buttery, rich in pigment but you can use them up really quickly because they're so soft. So my advice would be to use medium grade pastels, and then you can use the Sennelier ones on the top as your final details and for your top layer. So you can still use them and still get the same effects, but not wear them out by doing backgrounds with them. So you can use the pan pastels, dry ones, they are, and you can also use watercolor base to colour your sheet with, which is quite a good idea. Holbein, they're a good make for oil pastels. Caran d'Ache do Neo pastels, so they're really nice to use as well. Mungio are a mid-range one. They don't do individual pastels though, but they do a sets only. Paul Rubens, they're a good make, and they're a Chinese art brand, and they do sets only as well. Reeves are these ones that I've got here. They're really oily and pigmented, and I really like them. Winsor and Newton and Faber-Castell, Pentel and Crayola. So that's lots of different makes. You can buy oil pastels anywhere. I would say the cheapest ones are not the best, and you might find they're really hard and scratchy, and they're not soft and pliable, so they make it more difficult to use. So right, what I'm going to do now is just show you. I'm going to do some techniques now and show you. Okay, right, so I'm just going to make some boxes. Let's put some, just going to do okay, we'll just use them for a minute and I can show you. So I'm going to get two lots of colours here. Okay, so I've got I'm going to use a dark blue, which is, I think it's an aquamarine blue, this actually. So let's do, I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so It's good to do. I quite like doing them in little circles. I'm putting a layer down first. So the paper, depending on what paper you've got, depends on how much tooth you're going to see and how many gaps you're going to see in your paper. So you can see that this one, oh, there's quite a lot of gaps in this one because this is a sketch pad. So it says ideal for oils, chalks, pastels, water-based paints and colours, and it is 90 grams, which is not very thick. It's like drawing paper, quite thin. But with oil pastels, you can use thin paper, thick paper. It depends on what texture you want. So you're not governed like you are with watercolours, where you have to use watercolour paper. With oil pastels, you can use pretty much anything. Right, so I'm going to do blue and yellow. So this yellow is quite bright. I'm going to use it on its side to start with because it fills the space a bit quicker. Okay, right, so I'm going to join these together and I'm going to blend these in the middle so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so that's your green, look. And I've got a squeaky chair. Right. Okay, so let's have a look. So a paper stump blends quite well. And it stops you getting your fingers dirty. And you can push it into the tooth of the paper and make it softer, which is quite good. So I quite like that technique. I like your fingers, but it's quite hard to move around the paper with your fingers. It's quite difficult. It's not easy. So I think it's easier to use a tool rather than your fingers, because you can actually wear your fingerprints out and make your fingers sore, which is not good. So let's do this one again. So I'm going to do palette knife. Just going to put the colours down so you can see them. Okay, so you can also use these with a palette knife. So you can cut a piece off if you want texture. Okay, so you can cut a piece off like this and you can blend it into your paper. So it's kind of like warming it up. Once you warm it up, because it's oils, it's smoother. There's a big chunk there. I'm going to try and see if I can smooth it out a bit. It's a palette knife. See, palette knives are good for everything. I love palette knives. This is quite bendy, this one, look. That's it. It's a bit smoother now. Right. Now let's do a bit of yellow. So this is good. This will give good effects on your canvas, but you don't want to, you can't do your whole canvas like this because you'd use so much oil pastels. You might as well use oil paint if you're going to do this. But it is a good idea, and you can get some good effects. Right, I'm going to bring this up to the camera to see if you can see it. can see that. I don't know if you can. But it's quite rough. But that's quite a good technique. I quite like that. So also another one I want to show you is a wax candle. So this is what I did. Just chopped some chunks off. Imagine what my desk's like, can't you? Right, so let's do a different colour. So I'm going to do this one first. So we'll do this one in yellow. I'm going to do before and after. So that is the pastels first. And I'm going to put the wax candle on this side, just on the bottom, so you can see. Because it's clear. Some sets of pastels come with a clear blender, and that's what gave me the idea to use a wax candle, because I haven't got a clear blender with any of my sets, and I felt like I was missing out, and I was like, I want one of them. What can I use instead? So that's why I decided to use that. Okay, so we're going to use one on the top and one underneath. So this was on, one is on the top. So I'm just going to blend this together, so you can see. Okay, so look, that's what it looks like. It's quite soft. The more you use it, the softer it is, but it's quite soft. Okay, that's that one. And this is the one with it underneath, so it's blending into the wax already. So it's not as pigmented, but it's quite slidey and slippery to put the pastels on, but you get a different effect. It's not as dark as this side. And then if I put it on its own without any blender, this will show you the difference between all three. And sgraffito is where you can scrape into your pastels. So you can do trees, and you can do whiskers and lines, and that works really well. So that's a really good technique to use. And also I'm going to show you my wonky box. So I'm going to show you the dotting with the pastels, which is really nice. I like this one, because you can use different colours depending on what your edge is like on your pastel. Okay, so I'm going to use a pink. Probably can't really see that now. I think I'll probably use a blue now, because you'll be able to see it better. Okay. So this is good. You can build up layers of colour like this with different colours. You can do trees, leaves like it, or you could just do backgrounds. Some people do their whole painting just dotting with different colours, and they do pathways and landscapes. And it's a really good way to build up colour. And you don't have to blend everything in. You can just draw it as it is. But I really like that. That's really good. So that's dotting. So we've done that as well with chalk pastel techniques as well.